Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our window album, version 1 I'm calling it. So in part 1 we created the base, and I'm going to link that below in case you haven't seen that. I'll link it below so you can go create your base. In part 2 we are going to make page 1 and page 2. Okay, so you're going to make this with me now, and then part 3 will be, depending on how fast it goes, it might be page 3 and 4, it might be more than that, but we'll see. So I'm going to let you guys hop into creating this. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys all very soon. Just a quick reminder, there is a full cutting guide for this album available on my Etsy shop, and I will link that down below. All right, so we're going to start with page 1. 8 1/4 by 7 3/4, and on the 8 1/4 inch side, you're going to score it half and at 1, okay? So it's 8 1/4 by 7 3/4, and on the 8 1/4 side, you're going to score at half and at 1, okay? So we are first going to fold and burnish the 1 inch score line, just like this. And we're just going to leave the half-inch score line, we're just going to leave that for now, just because we're going to be working on the page and it's best to work on the page flat, okay? All right, so next we need to create the flaps that are going to come from the top and bottom of our main base page. So you need 2 pieces of your heavy black cardstock that measure 4 by 7 1/4, so you need 2, and on the 4 inch side, you're going to score at half an inch, okay? So then we can go ahead and fold and burnish those. So just fold your score line and burnish it. Then we can go ahead and just miter our corners like we did before. All right, just from the score line down and then from the bottom up here. You don't want to cut into your score line. All right, so now what you need to do is with your ruler, measure down 2 inches from both of your 4 inch sides, but make sure your flap is folded down. Your little attaching flap is folded down. So from the score line, you're going to mark down 2 inches. And then the other side from the score line, you're going to mark down 2 inches. And then you're going to find your center on the 7 1/4 inch side, which is 3 5/8. So you're going to find your center and mark it at 3 5/8. And we're going to do that for both of our pieces, okay? They're going to be identical. Then what you need is a metal ruler, or you can use your paper trimmer, you can use scissors. But if you're doing it like this, you need a metal ruler and a craft knife. And I'm just using my self-healing mat to cut on. And what I'm doing is I'm aligning this 2 inch mark coming down on this side and the 3 5/8 down here, okay? And you just cut across, and then you align the 3 5/8 there and the other 2 inch line here. Just like this. All right, so your piece is going to look like this. So do the same thing to your other flap. All right, so now your flap should look just like this. So now we need to get our pattern paper, and the pattern paper measures 3 1/4 by 7. And what you're going to do is just lay it onto your piece, just like this, onto your flap, so that you have an even black border on 3 sides. So the 2 short sides and the 1 long side. And then you are going to see your tip sticking out down here, okay? So what you're going to do is just take a pencil and mark up 1/8 of an inch from the black border down here, and 1/8 of an inch from it down here on the other side, and then just mark right in the center of your tip that's poking out, okay? Then grab your ruler and align those marks and cut across. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Align your marks and cut across. And then that is going to layer beautifully into your black flap. So do that on the other side as well. All right, then you are going to want to erase any of your pencil lines that are going to be showing once the pattern paper is on. So just erase any that are still visible. And try to keep your flaps or your pattern paper together with the flaps that you marked them on, because they might not match up on the other one. All right, so I'm going to lay these over here just like this. And then I'm going to grab something I can poke into. This is just a thick piece of foam. And I'm going to grab my pieces and I'm going to put them on there. Try to center them on whatever you're using. And I'm going to put them tip to tip just like this. And then I have 2 white circles that I've die cut. You can use anything for this. You can use squares, hearts, whatever you want. I'm just using circles. And I'm going to try to place them in about the same spot on my pattern paper here. You can eyeball it, you can measure, that's completely up to you. I'm more of a eyeballer myself. And then I'm just going to poke a hole in there. And I'm going to grab my brad. These are 1/4 inch brads. And I'm going to put my brad through there. And I'm going to open it up at the back, just like this, and then just put this back down in case anything moved. I think we still look pretty good. All right, and then I'm going to poke my hole in this one and grab my brad and put it through there. And just open it up at the back. All right, now we can go ahead and glue these onto their flaps. So I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac or Beacon 3-in-1 to do that, just because it gives me a little bit more wiggle time. So I'm just going to glue it right onto its flap. Make sure you get that nice even black border all the way around. Just like this. And then we'll glue the other one on as well. Just get your glue all over it. And place it right on, making sure to leave your nice even black border. All right, so now we need to prepare our little pieces that are going to go on the side. So for that, you're going to need 2 pieces of your black cardstock. That's 2 by 7.5, so you're going to need 2. And then on the 2-inch side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch. And then we can fold and burnish that for both of them. Just like so. All right, so then we can go ahead and miter these. Again, just like how we did for our top flaps. All right, so now I am going to use the We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper, and I am going to chomp my pattern paper and the black cardstock together that I'm going to put on here. So the pattern paper measures 1 1/4 by 7 1/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it right onto the flap, making sure it's aligned. And then I'm going to use the 1/4 inch side of the corner chomper. And I am first going to chomp this side. Make sure you get a nice clean cut. And then I'm going to chomp the other side. Just like this, and then I'm going to do the other one the same way. All right, so now we can go ahead and glue these on. So I'm again just going to use my Beacon 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, or whatever glue you like to use is perfect. The glue on there. And then just layer it on, leaving your nice even black border. And then the other one as well. Let's get the glue on there. And then just layer it on here. All right, so now let's assemble the page. So the first thing we're gonna do is glue one of our flaps to the top of our page and one to the bottom. This is our base page, remember? So we have folded over the 1 inch line. So this is the actual page. These are both hinges, so make sure you do not glue anything onto this, okay? Leave this folded over, and we're going to glue it across the top here, okay? So for that, I'm just gonna use my art glitter glue. And I'm going to put glue all over my little 1/2 inch hinge or attaching flap or whatever it's called. And I'm just going to put it right across the top, and it's going to go corner to corner of our main base page. Then you can open that up and burnish it down nicely, just like this. All right, so now we can glue the other one to the bottom. So just the same thing, add your glue to your flap. Just like so. Then it's going to go corner to corner and all the way to the edge. All right, open that up and burnish it down. All right, so now we can add our little side flaps. So they are going to go along both sides of our page. They are a 1/4 inch shorter than the main base page, so you're just going to want to center them in, leaving about 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. So they're going to go all the way to the edge here. Just add in my glue. Just like that. And so remember, just center them in, leaving about 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. And make sure you don't go over your edge, over your score line. And we can open it up and burnish that down. All right, same thing for the other side. Add your glue to the flap. And center it in so there's about 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. Then you can open that up and burnish it down. All right, so for in here, we have a white layer that measures 7 by 7.5. And I am just going to add my glue all over it. Again, I am switching to the Fabri-Tac or the Beacon 3-in-1 just because it gives me a little bit more wiggle time. And that is just going to go right in here with a nice even black border all the way around. All right, so then these sides are going to come in, and I'm going to give them one more quick little burnish. And these top and bottom is going to come down. All right, now I'm going to grab some baker's twine or whatever you have. I like embroidery thread. And I'm going to put it under my circle here. And I am going to make a knot at the bottom. And then I'm going to go back up to the top. And I'm going to make another knot. Just like this. Then I'm going to make sure my page is closed nice and securely. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to go under my circle down here and up and around. And you can go as many times as you want. I'm just going to do one and then cut that off. And then you'll kind of just cut this little tail off in here. And then just kind of tuck it under. All right, so that is page 1 completed. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. All right, so we're done with page 1, and the back of page 2 has a flap with a acetate pocket on it, okay? So that's what we're gonna work right now. So the flap measures 7 by 7 3/4, and on the 7-inch side, you're just gonna score it 1/2 an inch, okay? Just to create your little attaching flap. And then we can fold and burnish our little flap and go ahead and miter our corners. So just a little miter on both sides. All right, so this is the front, this is page 1. So when we flip this over, our hinges are now going to be on this side, okay? So this flap is gonna go along the outside edge of our page. So not along the edge with the hinges on the other side. But before we attach it, we want to create our pocket to go on here, okay? So we're gonna put this aside for now, our flap. Our pocket, the piece for our pocket measures 8 3/4 by 4. And on the 8 3/4 side, you're gonna score it 1/2 an inch and at 8 1/4. And then on the 4-inch side, you're just gonna score it 1/2 an inch, all right? Now the first thing we can do is go ahead and cut right across those corners. So right where our two score lines intersect, you are just gonna cut right below that, just like this, okay? So right below where they intersect. So just like that, okay? Now we have to make our opening in this pocket. So what you're gonna need for that is 4 strips of your pattern paper. So you're gonna have 2. You're gonna have 2 that measure 7.5 by 1/2 inch. So you're gonna have 2 that measure 7.5 by 1/2 inch. Then you're gonna have 2 that measure 3.25 by 1/2 inch. So 3.25 by 1/2 inch. And what you're gonna do is line them up so that your 2 long pieces are top and bottom and the 2 shorter pieces are on the sides, okay? Then you're gonna take 1 short piece and 1 long piece, and you're gonna put them together just like this on their corners, all right? So that they're touching equally all the way around. Then you're going to take a scissor and you're gonna cut from this corner here, from where they meet up to their corners up here. So just cut diagonally right through there, just like this, so that your corner now looks like this. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take your other short piece and the same long piece, connect them like this on the corners, and cut diagonally up to the tip. All right, so now take one of your short pieces and your other long piece, put them together and cut up to the corner. All right, and you're going to want to leave them where you found them because they're not going to match perfectly with the other sides, okay? So just put them back down where you picked them up from. And then you're going to take your long piece we just cut and your other short piece, align them in the corners, and just cut diagonally, okay? And that's just gonna go just like this, all right? So now, what we're gonna do is flip this whole thing over, okay? So I'm going to take this piece, put it here. I'm gonna take this piece and put it here. I'm gonna take this piece and put it here. And I'm gonna take this piece and put it here, all right? So that they're all nice and lined up. Then I'm going to take a little bit of score tape. So this is just 1/4 inch score tape. It could be thicker. It doesn't really matter. The only thing we're doing right now is tacking our corners together, just like this. So just grab little bits of tape and just tack these corners together. Now this is the back of our frame, right? It's not the front. And this is the easiest method I have found to make these acetate pockets. I'm sure there's a ton of different ways out there, but this is my interpretation of it. All right, so now we have our frame, right? So now we're gonna bring back in our pocket piece, and what's gonna happen is this whole thing is gonna layer on here, and you're gonna leave a nice even black border all the way around the outside edge, okay? So you have to remove the backing of your tapes, and we are going to use the Fabri-Tac or the Beacon 3-in-1 because you definitely want some wiggle room when you're putting this down. So just add your glue all over your frame, even over your tape. carefully add that glue. All right, and then pick it up and carefully place it on your pocket, leaving that nice even black border all the way around. Just make sure it's all nicely aligned and give it a good press. All right, so now you need to grab something you can cut on. I have my self-healing mat, but anything that is a cutting surface that you can cut on is going to work perfectly for this. All right, then you're also going to need a pokey tool, your cutting knife, and a metal ruler. So what I like to do is in the corners, I'm going to poke a hole about 1/8 of an inch down from my corner, okay? So about that much down from my corner. Hopefully you guys can see that. There you go. So about 1/8 of an inch down from the corner, or in, I should say, maybe. All right, so then what I'm going to do is take my ruler and I'm going to align my poked holes, okay? And I'm going to start by this hole and I'm going to go to this hole just to keep me aligned. Just like this, okay? So I've gone from hole to hole and it's cut, and now I'm going to go from this hole to this hole down here. So now it's cut there. And then I'm going to align my holes on this side. And then these two cut marks or holes, you can align either or that you want. All right, so now our frame is cut out with a nice even black border in the center and around our pattern paper. So put your cutting surface aside. Now you need a piece of acetate that measures 3 1/4 by 7 1/2. And I've already gone ahead and added my score tape around the edges. So this is gonna go on the back, just like this, okay? So just remove your backings from your score tape. I used 1/4 inch score tape here. So once all the backings are removed, you're just gonna place it carefully on the back of your pocket, just like this. All right, and that creates our acetate pocket. So now let's go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines, just like so. All right, now we can get our flap back in, and our pocket is gonna get attached on the opposite end of our 1/2 inch score line. It's going to get attached on this side, okay? So it's going to get attached so that the opening is coming from our 1/2 inch flap. So what I like to do, let me fold this all down to get a really nice flat surface. All right, and this is all gonna get attached right along here. So I'd like to just start with my bottom flap first, my bottom 1/2 inch strip. And just get my, I'm using the arc glitter glue here. And just attach it all the way to the bottom. And all the way to both sides. of the larger flap, and just pick it up and make sure that you're all the way on it, and then we can open it up and burnish it just like so. All right, and then we can go ahead and add glue to both the side flaps just like so. And then just bring those up, just kind of guide them down. And burnish those. Just like so. All right, so now we can attach this flap to our main base page, so the back of page 1, and it's gonna get attached opposite of our hinges. It's gonna get attached over here on this side. All right, so we can go ahead and add the glue to our flap. I really need to refill my bottle, but it just keeps going every time I think it's empty. All right, and just attach it all the way along this side of the main base page, making sure you're not going over at all. And then we can burnish this down just like so. All right, so the acetate pocket is going to have a large insert in it. So for that, you need a piece of your cardstock that measures 11 by 7.5. And on the 11-inch side, you're just going to score 1/2 inch. And then on the 7.5-inch side, you're going to score at 2, okay? So let's go ahead and fold and burnish our score lines. Just like so. All right, so this is going to come up, the 2-inch section is going to come up, and then we need to mark in 1/2 inch from this score line on both sides, okay? So I'm gonna line it up with the 1-inch mark, and then I'm just gonna mark in at 1/2 and at 1.5, just like this, okay? So I just have a 1/2 inch mark on both sides of my score line. Then I'm gonna grab my scissor and I'm going to cut from that 1/2 inch mark down to where the score line begins, down here, just diagonally, all the way to the score line. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we just kind of cut that out. All right, so that's what you have, like a little file folder. So before we glue our pockets, I want to add the white cardstock that's gonna go in here. So you're gonna need 2 pieces that measure 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and I am just going to use my Beacon 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, whichever one you have. And I'm gonna glue these down to these sections that are go behind the pockets. If you can, glue down the one with your marks if you're marking it. I will just have to erase mine. All right, and then the same thing on the other side. So again, it's just 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 of lightweight white cardstock because it's just for matting. All right, just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to take my art glitter glue and I am going to put just a little bit of glue along these edges here, about a 1/4 inch section of glue just along these side edges. Close it up and burnish with your bone folder. All right, and then same thing on the other side. just about a 1/4 inch section here. Just like that. And close up that side. And burnish. All right, so that's your cute little file folder. So for these sections here, you're going to need 2 pieces of your pattern paper that measure 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. And they're just going to layer right in here. And all we're going to do is make sure that there's an even black border on this edge, the bottom edge, and then down here, this little section as well. And then right here, up here, I'm just going to mark in 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to cut from this corner up to there. Just like that. And then that is going to layer beautifully in there. And I'm again just going to use my Fabri-Tac for this step. And just layer it in like this. All right, and then my buggies are just gonna keep going here. So same thing on this side, just make a little mark up here, about 1/8 of an inch in, and then just cut from there down to your corner on the bottom. And then we'll glue this down. Just like so. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a different format for this book, where I kind of mat and do the pattern paper as I'm going. So you guys can maybe let me know below if you like that or not. All right, and for the front of our little insert, I just used one of the cut aparts from the collection, and I just cut it. It's a 4x6 cut apart, but I just cut it down on both sides so that it is 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so that is gonna go right up. Make sure that your little pockets are down here. All right, and that's gonna go right there. And I am just going to use my Fabri-Tac. All right, and that is gonna go right here, leaving an even black border on 3 sides. How cute is that? You are my greatest adventure. I love that. All right, and then I have another smaller piece that measures 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. And that is just gonna go right here, just like this, to just finish off the bottom. Of course, you could use one full piece of pattern paper if you didn't want that, but I kind of like the little look of the break, the little black break. All right, so stinking cute. All right, and then this insert is just gonna go right inside of our pocket here on this page. So the inside of the pocket here is going to have a piece of pattern paper that measures 7 1/2 by 6 1/4. And I picked this cute one with a little baby in the corner. So 7 1/2 by 6 1/4. And that is just going to slide right down into my pockets. And it's just gonna go right here. Oh my goodness. The cuteness. Can't handle it. All right, and then our little insert is just gonna go right into there. How beautiful is that? Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our window album. version 1, I'm calling it. So in part 1, we created the base, and I'm going to link that below in case you haven't seen that. I'll link it below so you can go create your base. In part 2, we are going to make page 1 and page 2. Okay, so you're going to make this with me now. And then part 3 will be, depending on how fast it goes, it might be page 3 and 4, it might be more than that, but we'll see. So I'm going to let you guys hop into creating this. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys all very soon. All right, so this is the layout for inside the flap once you open the flap with the acetate pocket. I haven't glued anything down, I just wanted to get it laid out. So the large mat that goes in here, and this is going to be next to our main hinge, is 5.5 by 7.5. And I'm going to use my trusty Fabri-Tac or the Beacon 3-in-1. And I'm going to place it along my hinge over here, leaving a 1/4 inch of space on all 4 sides, okay? Or sorry, 1/8 of an inch of space on all 4 sides. And then this little strip of pattern paper measures 1 1/4 by 7.5, and it's just going to go along right there. So we are just going to add our glue on it. And if it's directional, make sure you're putting it the right way up. And that's going to get glued right here. All right, and then for this side of the flap, so this is the side that our pocket is on. In the corner here, we're going to have a 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mat for right there. So this is just the lightweight white cardstock. If you happen to have removable adhesive, you could put that on there so that you can remove these photo mats when you're ready to put photos in. But I like the white border, so I'm going to leave. I like to permanently glue mine in. So this piece of pattern paper measures 2 by 6 1/4, and it's just going to go right here along my photo mat. It's like so. All right, make sure you do not go on your score line. Just like that. All right, and then this little strip measures 1 1/8 by 6 1/4, and I love it. It says snips and snails and puppy dog tails, and that's going to go right here. So it's 1 1/8 by 6 1/4, and as I said, this is all in the cutting guide if you purchased that. All right, and it's going to go right here. How stinking cute. All right, so that finishes off page 1 and 2. I think I'm going to stop the tutorial here for today, so you guys can get your page 1 and 2 done. For your weekend homework, you can make your book, your main book, and your page 1 and your page 1 and 2. All right, guys, I will see you all again very soon.